Hello and welcome to this Spotlight on the Divorce Expert. And today we're going to be talking to Julia Shteynberg, and she has a really important message that I think anybody going through divorce who is going to have an income, whether it's an earned income or income through the divorce or income through any other source, money and how we relate to money is going to have a big factor on how we're going to do things. So I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. So let's start by introducing our guest, Julia. Julia, can you tell us a little bit about why and how you got into this area of money and why this is so important for people to be aware of?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for having me. Well, I've been in corporate finance for like the first kind of section of my career, and looking at financial P&L, so profit and loss. And it's just money and has always just kind of felt very um, just easy for me. I don't know how else to put it. Like I just kind of understood it. It didn't scare me. It didn't feel overwhelming. It just kind of always made sense to me. So not only on the business front, but also personally, I was able, like me and my husband, we don't have children, but we were able to, kind of grow our wealth. And he would often say that he is my first money coaching client. So getting on the same page about money and getting on and kind of exploring our mindsets and our goals and our intention together. So I decided to leave corporate America several years ago. I was a little bit burnt out, and it was stressful to leave. But one of the things that I did not have as a stressor was the financial piece of it. So we were able to get ourselves to a place where we had two incomes, but we lived on one. And because of that, we had a very, very strong financial cushion, which absolutely opened up the opportunity for me to be able to leave and try something, do something else. So that's a story that I talk about on my website a little bit. Um, so decided to leave without the stress of like the finance piece of it. And then also just kind of like realizing after talking with a friend that, I do have this kind of skill, this gift about personal finance and understanding it and just thinking very clearly and talking about it, unapologetically without kind of any fear, just very clearly with people about it. And a relative was like, you really should be a money coach. And so after kind of doing some research around that, I decided that I felt like it was kind of my calling. It was something that I could help women with. It's such an uncomfortable topic for a lot of people, and kind of, all the jargon out there is kind of very direct, and it's all kind of the same, and nobody really knows how to put their own finances together. And I figured that that is something that I want to help women with and give them more options for their life.
Yeah, and what an important thing. And when you were talking, it reminded me, I was at a networking event, an in-person one. So, post-COVID, these are starting to come back again now. And there was a bunch of women standing around. It was a women's event. And there was one lady there that was talking about her earnings very openly. And it was funny seeing the reaction of the other women because some of them were like leaning in, wanting to find out more. And other ones you could tell they were like, look at her. Who does she think she is? Talking about, she was talking about having an 8-figure business. And she was very, very
Good for
proud of
her.
herself. And she had accomplished this. And rather than celebrating her, there was all this kind of talk in the background about, well, who does she think she is? Why? It's like money. We're not supposed to want money. We're not supposed to be feel good about money. Money's supposed to be like something that we hide away in secret. I hear a lot. I get that sense from a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that's kind of like that's what I help people understand and explore is like the relationship with money, right? Like why do some people are like, oh, I love it and they celebrate it, and other people like they kind of shy away from it. All of that is like your money blueprint, right? It's your relationship. It's kind of what you grew up hearing from your family, from your culture, from
Right.
society, right? Like there are certain cultures that, oh, you don't talk about money,
Right.
right? And it's like and the beautiful part about your relationship with money, it's like your relationship with anything else, is like you get to decide what you want to keep and what you want to let go of.
Yeah.
And and really kind of like explore that because you can choose to think differently about money and believe different things about money and then create a different life for yourself. So that is a really interesting observation that, yeah, some people, for whatever reason, think that like you shouldn't talk about it and it's kind of crude and how dare she be so, um, kind of forward about how much money she makes and all of that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
that's always fascinating to
And
me. Yeah.
it's interesting because it's not typically the same way when you're talking in groups of men. Usually
Yes.
it's like, whoa, way to go, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And
again,
it's,
like a lot of that is like, how are we socialized as women,
yes,
right? Like women in this, like women are only, I think, starting from the 70s, were able to open their own bank accounts, right?
75
It's
in
like
the
you don't
United
talk about,
States. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
And like, I want to be out there, give permission to women to be like, I have no problems. Like, I love money. I love what money does for your life. I love what money does for your confidence. I love how money makes you feel, right? As long as it's intentional, right? Intentional and, used, I think, kind of to make the world a better place
yeah,
and do good
yeah,
things.
yeah,
But there's nothing wrong with wanting a lot of money.
yeah. And when you have a lot of money, you can do a lot of good. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's that side. So I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, Julia. What are some of the common myths that you hear about money, high earners, especially when it comes to women dealing with this?
Yeah, so the most common thing that I hear around money and high earners is that there's this assumption, societal assumption, and even people that have it themselves is because you make a lot of money, you automatically just know how to manage it. And I think that's like the biggest myth. Um, and the reason that that's a myth is because those are completely different skill sets. Making money is one skill set, right? But managing money and your thoughts around that is a completely different skill set. And the other thing is like we have a lot of focus in our society on like how to make more money. We don't have a lot of focus in our society about how to manage your money and how to manage your mind around money. Right? Oftentimes, what I've seen is like people are not comfortable talking to their families about money. People are not comfortable talking to their partners. Hence, one of the top causes of divorce, right? Like it's really uncomfortable. So that's probably the biggest myth is that just because you make a lot, you know how to manage it. And that is just not true. And that causes a lot of shame, especially for women. Like I feel like I should, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm guessing too, a lot of times, like you said, there's a mismatch in relationships between the spenders and the savers. And
Yeah.
so if you're not, you know, just assuming that your spouse is on the same page as you, or a new partner, or even your kids are on the same page with you as money, on the same page with you when it comes to money. I think that can create a lot of conflict in families and
Yeah.
even in businesses. Like if you're in a business partnership and one person wants to, invest in every shiny little thing that comes by, and the other person is like, no, we have to invest in our business internally.
Yeah.
I'm guessing those could be really high conflict situations because of that values mismatch.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think that I find that often with couples. I mean, just to be very transparent, like when my husband and I got together, we kind of had that too. I was a bit more of the saver and he was a bit more of the spender. And I think through time we've probably like rebalanced because for us it's really important to make sure to talk openly, have open discussions and be not only honest with the other person, but be honest with yourself. And I think that's where all of that it kind of comes up is because people are afraid to be honest with themselves about what they truly want and what's truly important to them and their values, right? It's a very vulnerable place to be honest with yourself and then express that with a partner, a business partner, right? All of that. So I think that's where a lot of that stuff can get really sticky and uncomfortable.
Right. And when you're saying this, it just brought to mind, I was speaking to a client of mine. This would have been years and years ago now, but she was a high income earner. So, and you have defined high income earner or high achiever or high earner as anything over 100,000. Is that right, Julia?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's not, we're
definitely.
not talking billionaires and millionaires here, but we're talking people that have good careers, good jobs. Um, and or maybe just have a good job and a side hustle too. That's a good
Yeah,
way to do
yeah.
this. Um,
Mhm.
she After the divorce, she wanted to go buy herself this diamond ring that she had always wanted. And at that time, it was maybe $2,000 or $3,000, which was, this was 10 years ago. So that would, I don't know what that is now, but you know, it's a little bit of money, right? And she was
Yeah.
so concerned what her family would say because
Mhm.
they were 9 to 5, lower income earning, some working 2 or 3 jobs. They didn't there's no way these people, any of her family, could go buy this ring. And she was so
Yeah.
embarrassed to have it that she bought it but wouldn't wear it to anything where her family might see it in a picture or anything. And how
Yeah.
can you give us a little bit of insight on, or why do people buy shoes and then hide them in the closet, like things like that? What is
Yeah.
going on there?
Yeah. I mean, definitely, it's a little bit of the shame to kind of show up differently, especially with family, right? Because it's like you grow up in this group, right? They know you a certain way, and by being part, it's like society, right? Being part of this smaller society, there's this assumption that it's like same mindset, same likes, same. So once you kind of start deviating from that and doing something different, there is this fear, and it's understandable. So like the person that's kind of has the growth and has the different desires and wants to buy that, there's this fear of like they don't want to be thought of as uppity, if you will, or better than thou, right? And then on the flip side, there are people that, yeah, could be envious or could be like, oh, you're leaving us, and who do you think you are? And what I would say to that is like, one, you are not responsible for what other people think. That's not your business, right? And the other part about getting comfortable with that is like, again, kind of like recognizing your own identity and like getting comfortable in your own new identity and realizing it is going to make people feel uncomfortable. And you just get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable
Yeah,
around that. And
yeah.
that a lot of that is like the mindset stuff, right?
And
That people work on. Yeah.
yeah, and this is so fascinating because this is that, Mel Robbins just came out with that whole book, Let Them. This is exactly,
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
reason that book was such a bestseller, like
Yes.
right off the bat. Is because this is a message people need to hear, that you are not responsible for anybody else's thoughts, opinions, ideas about
Emotions.
you. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
not your business.
yeah,
Like someone once said to me, I don't remember who it is, but it's just like other people's opinions of are just not your business,
yeah,
right? And like, and I love that, right? That
yeah,
just kind of like releases. Like, it doesn't mean it's easy. Like, it's still like, oh, and that's something you have to work on. That's a muscle. That's a
yes.
muscle to be able to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but it's doable.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's shift a little bit and let's talk about the whole idea of intentional work with your money. I know this is something you really help people deal with, particularly women, high earning women. How do
Yeah.
you go from kind of like, okay, I've got a good paycheck coming in and I've got money left over at the end of the month, so I'm doing okay, to being intentional with your money?
Yeah. Well, a lot of times being intentional just requires a pause, right? A pause to actually stop and think and figure out what it is that you want for your life. And I think that in our society, we do that when we're in college, right? We go to college and we think about what we want and we have our major and then we get on this career and all this kind of stuff. But at no point, there's no conversation in our society or no encouragement to continue to kind of check in with ourselves. Like, is it still what we want? Are we still doing things intentionally, right? So we get caught up in and we were talking about kind of like that lifestyle creep. Because society says it's so, I'm going to buy that house. I'm going to buy that car. I got a raise. I'm going to get a nicer car. I got another raise. I'm going to get, a house. And when I say to stop and talk about it, like think about intention, like there's nothing wrong with that. But where's that coming from? Where's that desire coming from? Is it like you truly want that for yourself? You love this is a value, or are you doing it because like that's just kind of like what you see and think you should and don't really know what else to do, right? And that's the distinction between just kind of autopilot and being intention. And like when, when we work together, when I work with somebody, it's like we create the space to be able to pause and actually ask yourself these questions. And once you ask yourself these questions and come up with the answers, then we can create like that roadmap, right? That I talk a lot about, like Google Maps. Like if you don't know where you're going, then like you won't be able to, like you don't know what direction to put into Google Maps. So it's like you're going to be going all over the place, right? So the intention, the vision, gives you that kind of grounding. And once you know what that is, then we can be like, okay, so what does that mean? Let's explore that. Why? Then what pieces of it? So then and then we kind of start creating the individualized personal like money plan for them.
Yeah. And
That's all
and
based in intention.
and what I really like about learning what you've talked to me about and shared is that it's very client focused. So there's no
Oh yeah.
sort of, there's one particular person out there who the financial guru who I hear a lot quoted, and the only thing he wants is like cut everything out right now, like go down to bare bones, save everything you can, get your emergency plan, pay off all your debts, never have a penny in debt, and then start living your life. Well, if that doesn't happen until
Yeah.
you're 70 and you drop dead at 70 plus 1 day of age, what have you done for the
Yeah.
last 7 years? So I love this idea of creating that values understanding and then creating a roadmap to help you still achieve the goal, the mini goals and the fun things you want to
Yeah.
do in life, but keeping your big
Yeah.
picture in mind. Yeah.
That's really important. And I think you touched on that. Like when we work together, like I absolutely make sure that we have like a fun allocation, right? Because you're working so hard towards something and it is trade-offs. And it's really hard to constantly just be focused on the big picture. You've got to give yourself those wins. And like you've got to give yourself the, kind of pats on the back, the treats, if you will, of whatever that is for, kind of working towards this. You don't have to go cold turkey one way or another. That's one way. Like,
Right.
and for some people, like some people love the super austere, like this is, this military like way. Great. But that's not the only way.
Right. And that's their
Yeah.
choice. That's their choice to
Yeah.
choose that path.
Exactly.
It's not, you're not the kind of coach that goes, okay, this is what you have to do to get from where you are now to where you want to go. And this is where I think it really resonates because a lot of people say to me legitimately, I'm going through a divorce. I think I want to stay in my town. I think I have an idea what, rent for a condo or rent for an apartment or to buy a condo or to buy a house. But maybe I want to move to Florida or maybe I want to move to California or Oregon or, Alabama, wherever it may be. And it's
Yeah.
hard to be so specific. Some of the do it yourself financial stuff is very like you have to put in specific numbers and it's all on a spreadsheet and it's very kind of
Yeah.
um not personalized and it's very
Yeah.
un it doesn't give you any emotional satisfaction to see you be able to check off those boxes necessarily.
Yeah, yeah, I hear that. Well, and that's the thing, right? Like, don't get me wrong. I do think you have to have some kind, as specific as possible, right?
Yes.
But if you don't know, if you know that, like, hey, I know I don't want to stay here. I don't quite know where I want to go. Well, that can take time to develop. As long as, like, okay, we have a starting point, right?
Right.
You know, you don't want to stay here. You want to go somewhere. So now we can start exploring that until you get to some place that is a bit more specific. And the reason people talk about getting specific is because then you can really like you've got something that you're reaching towards, right? That then you get to decide like, well, I can choose to not spend on this because no, I'm like working towards that. And that is so crystal clear for you and it's something that you really, really desire, right? Like
Yeah.
I believe in like money management through desire, not from, scarcity and restriction. Like desire because like you want to be financially independent. You
Right.
want that freedom. You want to feel so good when your credit card's done, your money's being managed and you know you're growing your wealth. Like that feels so good,
Yeah.
and like that's where you will continue to keep your motivation from that
Yeah. and
desire.
I was thinking like that desire could be philanthropic. It could be,
Yeah.
my goal is to be able to start a foundation, or my goal is to be able to contribute X amount of money every year to
Yep.
charities of my choice. It doesn't mean you have to go buy the new car, the new phone, the new whatever. So I just think that's such a powerful message. Julia, this has been a fantastic conversation. We could probably go on for a lot longer, but we have to stop time wise.
Yes.
Tell, if you wouldn't mind sharing, for people that are listening and going, I really love this idea. I want to learn more about what Julia does, or maybe they know they already want to work with you. What is the best way to reach out and find that information?
Absolutely. So people can reach me on my website. It's super simple, moneycoachjulia.com. And it's got all about my one-to-one program, a little bit about me. I also do corporate financial wellness if that's of interest to anybody. So that's the best way to reach me.
Thank you, Julia. And thank you all for listening to this Spotlight on the Divorce Specialist. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit a response if you want answers to your questions.